This is White Plains Week, the weekly roundup of White Plains, Westchester, and world news. With John Bailey, editor and publisher of the daily internet newspaper White Plains Citizen Net Reporter, WPCNR.com. Jim Benerofe, editor and publisher of SuburbanStreet.com and WhitePlains.com. And me, Peter Katz, formerly with NBC, ABC News, and stations from Boston to Los Angeles. White Plains Week, what's happening, who are the newsmakers, what's in store for the future. The views and opinions expressed on this program are solely those of the participants. White Plains Week is presented on Optimum Cable Channel 76, Verizon Fios Channel 45, and on the internet at whiteplainsweek.com, youtube.com, and wpcommunitymedia.org. Now, White Plains Week.
Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. White Plains, Westchester, and the world. John Bailey, White Plains Week, the Dog Days edition. And it has been a very doggy and wet August. John Bailey with Peter Katz, the anchor for all seasons, and Jim Benerofe. And Jim, you have the headlines.
And here are the headlines for the week of August 17th, 2018. County Executive George Latimer makes environmental improvements at County Airport, calls for supplemental master plan, new consultant to prepare it. Privatization lingers. 4.9 inches of rain wrecks a retaining wall in Ossining. County inspects retaining walls throughout county. 7.9 inches of rain in August. Governor Cuomo signs Assemblywoman Amy Paulin's tough sex trafficking legislation into law. County announces task force to recruit more minority and women-owned businesses for county contracts. Shark seriously injures Greenberg man off Truro Beach in Cape Cod. Coyote spotted in Yonkers.
Sorry, my mistake. New Rochelle, right.
Okay,
Yeah.
Coyote spotted in New Rochelle.
Yeah.
The Hudson Valley Service Employees Union begins negotiations with building owners. Cleaning businesses threaten strike that could affect 100,000. Paul Feiner reports New York State Police hand out 60 tickets in one day on the Sprainbrook Parkway, August 7th. State Council of New York School Superintendents spokesman says the superintendents understood assessment scores would be late, but not this late. FASNY states it awaits Judge Lefkowitz's decision and plans to build when she decides. Hudson Gateway Association of Realtors says certain trade papers and News 12 aired on saying Gateway second quarter sales statistics were incorrect. Women's Club announces annual fundraiser September 28th will benefit Abbott House. Aretha Franklin, the Queen of Soul, dies. 33 top 10 singles in 7 years. Aggressive Pay Attention hits delivered assertiveness, sensitivity, and made you feel her pain and made you respect yourself.
Thank you, Jim. And we'll go right away to the video newsreel shown here is the Westchester County Airport, which was topic number one of County Executive George Latimer on Monday. And we have video of what's going to happen.
Well, John, as you know, the airport has been under study for some time. Under the Astorino administration, there was a plan put forward to privatize the airport, turn it over under about a 40-year lease to a private operator, which would, in essence, act as if they owned the airport. It was felt that Astorino could use the money from that to balance the county budget. Now, under the new Latimer administration, that deal has been under scrutiny. And according to what Latimer suggests the interest in privatizing the airport may be waning on the part of the county under this new administration. Latimer held a series of 3 public hearings to hear from the public their thoughts on operating the airport, on what should be done about the environmental conditions at the airport, about what should be done about the level of service at the airport. And this week, there was a news conference held, and where do you think, John? Of all places, the airport.
Absolutely.
And there, Joan McDonald, who is Director of Operations for the county, explained some of the things that they already have been doing on the environmental front.
We have ordered 10 portable noise monitors to assess the noise at various locations within the community. This is one of the first ones to arrive. The remaining 9 will all be here by August 31st, and we will put them in locations where the source has the largest number of complaints and where there is currently insufficient coverage by noise monitors. They will also be placed at locations that will enable us to check the accuracy of the complaints and validate the data from the current fixed monitors. We are in the process of automating our complaint response system. We've brought a new firm on board to do that. That system will provide us with quicker responses and a much more significant level of detail. It will streamline the process of filing a complaint and provide greater public access to noise complaint information and trends. We've taken several actions to reduce emissions. We have transitioned to electric ground support and service vehicles. We have electric jet bridges, new boilers, newer, more efficient planes, and other fuel changes.
The governance of this airport has never been the main issue. The main issue at this airport is how does this airport serve its reason of existing, which is a transportation hub, and how do we make that transportation hub as least impactful to our air, our water, our noise, and our neighbors. The issue of governance was brought in by the last administration and turned the discussion of the airport into a financial discussion. How do you liquefy an asset here to help you balance your budget? That has never been the front edge of my interest. And let me tell you, although I wasn't in this position prior to January 1st, I served for 13 years in the Board of Legislators. Ken served for 11 years in the Board of Legislators. John served 4 years. We never once viewed the airport as a piggy bank to crack open. We don't want to lose the ability to control decisions made here that impact people's lives. And by the way, the people also include the traveling public that go through here. So, what happens is when you contract out something like that, first thing that happens, rates go up. All of a sudden somebody's saying, hey, I'm paying $30 at the parking garage. Well, we don't control it anymore. Somebody's paying you money for the privilege to run it, and they say, well, we're going to get our investment back. And so it's not just, there's a perception that this is all about the neighbors being angry on changing governance. This could be the traveling public that could also be poorly served. It could be the businesses of Westchester County that are poorly served as well. My basic attitude is not to give up control of something that's this impactful.
And John, there was more, as you know, you were there.
Yes, he said he is going to redo the master plan and addition that the FAA requires, and I asked him this question about privatization.
Okay, John?
Yes, will you consider leasing at a much more profitable return for the county with county oversight and control in considering the master plan?
Well, that's why I say the issue's always been governance, not privatization. We have a private arrangement here now to operate the airport without it. Within a private situation, I contract you to do something. I don't turn it over to you. You give me money, and then you make all the decisions. So leases are, and by the way, the length of the lease has a lot to do. Somebody say, whoa, it's a lease? It's a 40-year lease. 40 years from now, you can drive by Union Cemetery and let me know how this all turned out, because I won't be here for 40 years. That's a very long lease period of time. That's close to being the equivalent of selling. Yeah, John, I'm not going to look to be 105. So my point being that if we decide to contract something out, we can subdivide anything. But we want to make sure, and I think this came loud and clear from what we heard, is we don't want to lose the ability to control decisions made here that impact people's lives. And by the way, the people also include the traveling public that go through. So, what happens is when you contract out something like that, the first thing that happens, rates go up. All of a sudden somebody's saying, hey, I'm paying $30 at the parking garage. You don't control it anymore. Somebody's paying you money for the privilege to run it. And they say, well, we're going to get our investment back. And so it's not just this perception. This is all about the neighbors being angry on changing up. This could be the traveling public that could also be poorly served. It could be the businesses in Westchester County that are poorly served.
So can we say you would explore it?
I'm sorry?
You would explore it though, right?
Well, it's part of a discussion. As I've said that already, there's nothing that I haven't ruled it out, but I have said that my basic attitude is not to give up control of something that's this impactful.
And he would took another question, but it seems to me that we may consider privatization in some form, but if the consultant they're going to hire, Peter, to redo the master plan or supplement it, does not look at privatization options and how they might work, that's not a good supplement or an analysis, in my opinion. I think you got to look at that. What do you think? To an extent.
I think there's a process which is unfolding, and we'll just have to wait and see.
Yes, slowly, very slowly, I must say. Now, in another matter regarding the county this week, it was announced that there is a task force that has met to get more hiring of minority and women contractors. And Ken Jenkins discussed it with County Executive George Latimer.
I am so happy today that we have two of the individuals that participated with us today, two women-owned businesses. First, I'm going to introduce Sherry Bruck to say some words what she felt today in the session that we had for minority and women business. Sherry.
I'm Sherry Bruck, and I own Harkland Creative Group, a marketing firm that's been in business for 26 years, and I've been certified with New York State and the county since the early 2000s, and I was so excited to get the call to participate in this task force. I'm really looking forward. There was a lot of energy in the meeting today, and I'm really looking forward to the outreach efforts that are going to be enacted to bring more MWBEs on board, and also to provide them technical assistance that will help them identify opportunities and then help them get to the finish line. So thank you very much for making this a priority. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Sherry. Next, we want to have Liz Velez, who is a construction person. Look at that, right? Construction, and has multi-generational family business. Liz, come on.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you so much. Well, I want to applaud certainly the county executive, Latimer, and it's a pleasure to be working with you and Bridget to be able to really focus on diversity. Diversity in procurement makes so much sense in so many ways. It's inclusivity so that all of our communities are affected. It increases also competitiveness throughout. And so by focusing on MWBE inclusion, and I am a second generation construction firm, we've been in business for about 50 years. We've always proudly worn our MWBE certification. What that provides for us is an opportunity to get in the door. And so to be able to provide those opportunities to other MWBE firms here in Westchester is going to be incredibly impactful. So we look forward to working with all of the task force and the commission about going forward and employing best practices that we've learned along the way to be able to make this place even better place to live and work.
So we have two next steps that we're doing. One is that we are working on a forum that we will pull together after having a secondary conversation. But as I said initially, there's things people can do today to get involved. And if they go on the county website, on our westchestergov.com, and specifically under our Department of Public Works, they can sign up today with the federal forms. This is not forms we made up that have the certification that's required. So we're looking forward to working together with everyone as we go through the minority and women business enterprises throughout the county. We have 60 million good reasons to do that. That's about the deficit that we were looking at the other day. So we want to make sure that every business that we can have in Westchester County is successful.
Deputy County Executive.
Yes, sir.
Are there any statistics that you can cite that the county has that will determine the need for more outreach towards women and employees? Any stats?
Absolutely. Westchester County is required under the county law to provide that every year. It gets sent to the Board of Legislators, the clerk of the board, and certainly to the county executive's office. Last year, the participation was under 5% of the millions of dollars that we had. I'll give you the exact number so you have the report, John. And all the members of the team today were promised that we would get that out to them. But that's a problem, right? When you look at the $1.8 billion of business that we do in Westchester County, that's our budget, and then $1.5 billion of construction work. And there was clarity given today in the session, and Sarah gave it that herself, was talking about more than just the construction work. Westchester County procures professional services, whether that's accountants, whether that's photographers, whether that happens to be people that are vendors for food, all kinds of things that we do in Westchester County. There's not one thing in Westchester County that we don't have a need for. We have financial services, we do bonding, we do a lot of things. So John, we have a great opportunity here in Westchester because you only get what you measure. And we did not have goals in Westchester County. And Director of Operations, Joe McDonald, with her great experience in the state, that was the first thing, and said, what are the goals that we have? And yes, there are federal goals, which are 10%, by the way, of participation at a minimum. We were not even meeting that. And then we have the compliance issues and reporting. There was no one doing any follow-up on the reports that came out. So we're looking forward together with everyone to come up with some creative solutions to identify some roadblocks that we could remove with the county executive's leadership, working with our partners on the Board of Legislators when there's laws that are necessary that we have to build up.
There we go, and we'll be telling you more about that in the weeks ahead. And go to the westchester.gov.com website and go to Department of Public Works to download and fill out that form. And right now, though, speaking of empowering women and minorities, there was a lot of empowering done, and there was someone who has an interest in women.
Craig Unger's new book, House of Trump, House of Putin, explains the whole Trump shebang. According to the book, he's a Russian agent, and for 34 years has worked with the Russian mob to launder their money in his real estate around the world. Now, as Unger puts it, the Russians have installed their asset in the White House without firing a shot. About 300 newspapers published editorials pointing out the dangers President Trump poses to our country by his incessant attacks on the free press. The Boston Globe coordinated the effort to make sure the editorials appeared the same day for the greatest national impact, but each newspaper was responsible for its own content. The themes were the same: without a free press and a public which has access to the truth, not just propaganda from a ruthless dictator, there can be no democracy and no freedoms. As you'd expect, Trump again attacked the free press after the editorials appeared, and he also attacked the people's right to the truth. John Brennan, the former CIA director, says Trump claims that he and his campaign did not collude with Russia are, to use Brennan's word, hogwash. Brennan, who has devoted his career to public service and in so doing rose to become CIA director, has been brutally honest about the damage Trump has done to the security of the United States and the intelligence and defense communities which keep us safe. In an unprecedented display of pettiness and a move so stupid as to be criminal, my opinion, Trump revoked Brennan's security clearance, which means that the government can no longer consult with him and take advantage of his expertise as our spies continue to take on the Russian spies and the North Korean spies and the Iranian spies and others. In fact, Trump is said to be planning to pull the security clearances of several other experts who have been trying to tell him and the government the truth about what's going on in the world. Trump just wants to silence them. Once again this weekend, Trump has his hands in your pocket, mine too, as he visits Long Island and his golf resort in Bedminster, New Jersey, moving yet more money from our pockets to his. Keep in mind that every time Trump goes to one of the properties he owns, he charges the government for use of the place. And the cost of housing and feeding the Secret Service and the White House staff and his family and his friends, and even for such things as golf cart rentals for the Secret Service. And he makes himself available to rich people who have paid him $200,000 a year as club members to have access to him. In his first year and a half in office, Trump has spent 97 days on the golf course. That's almost triple what Obama spent on the golf course during his 8 years in office. and Trump supporters
That's a lot
bought
of bad
Trump's
shots.
campaign lies that Obama had spent more time golfing than being in the Oval Office. The number of lies told by Trump has again soared to new records, more than 4,300 verifiable lies told, according to the Washington Post, since taking office, which has turned out to be the biggest lie of all, since he has not preserved, protected, and defended the Constitution of the United States, my opinion. A question. What do you call a question, John? Jim?
Yes, sir.
What do you call someone who calls the United States Secretary of State, Betsy DeVos, Ditzy DeVos? Answer, you call him President Trump. Omarosa Mangal Newman, the former reality TV participant on The Apprentice and confidant and aide to Donald Trump, who wound up in the White House staff as one of his aides, says Trump had a nickname for DeVos, Ditzy, and also had nicknames for other White House staffers. Now, Omarosa says in her new book that the Trump White House has been in chaos and Trump is seriously mentally ill. She also says Trump is a racist. She says she's seen it. And she says there's a tape of him using the dreaded racist N-word. We know what the N-word is. She says he has no respect for African Americans, no respect for women. And now that she's no longer licking his boots, Trump calls her wacky and a dog. Now, most people think that he used the term dog, so people will think, well, female, dog, that word begins with B. Omarosa has released a tape of Donald Trump Jr.'s wife before divorce proceedings, offering her $15,000 a month in a no-show campaign job in exchange for keeping silent about what she knows about Trump and the Trump family. The first trial of Paul Manafort, Trump's former campaign manager, on bank fraud and tax fraud and more has been wrapping up in Virginia as we're recording the show. The jury is still out. The outcome could send Manafort to jail for life, so the outcome of his second trial in Washington coming up may not matter that much. The Trump administration still has not united with their parents, all of the children it kidnapped from the parents at the border, and it's thought some will never be reunited. The American Civil Liberties Union has been fighting in court to try to force the Trump administration to get serious about doing something to undo the human atrocities it has committed, and the government has responded by, guess what, John? Instead of doing something, it's asking the court to make the ACLU responsible for righting the wrongs. Trump has been sending Vice President Pence around the country to drum up support for his Space Force idea, to turn space into a war zone. Since the dawn of the space age, international cooperation has worked to prevent the militarization of space, and in fact, every day there is international cooperation on space exploration and the use of space to promote the well-being of the human race. The Space Force idea is one more reason for the American people to quickly bring to an end the Trump administration, my opinion. John?
Maybe we could call it the Solar Guard. Remember Tom Corbett? Well, be that as it may. Spanning the county, there was a collapse of a retaining wall in Ossining, if we can have that slide, please, and that was due to about 5 inches of rain. Fell between Sunday and Monday, and and exhausted the retaining wall. There's a great shot from Patch, whoever shot that, of the actual fall down from the hill. Great shot
now,
there.
This has inspired the county to take something. They're sending their DPW crews out to inspect retaining walls that the county owns
they
on
had a
county
photo
property.
op, which I couldn't go to because
Right here on the Bronx River Parkway, they had a crew out trying to see if the retaining walls holding back the soil from the Bronx River Parkway.
Not to undermine the parkway.
Yeah.
That is so undermined anyway. Now, up in Cape Cod, a Greenberg man was attacked by a shark, and that's a file shot of a great white going after a seal. And what the sharks are doing is they are eating the seals that have come down. And that's what has caused this shark problem.
So we don't really have an update on the condition of this Greenberg guy, but he was in serious but stable condition last time we heard.
Right. FASNY has issued a statement to the Citizen-Net reporter saying that they were awaiting the Judge Lefkowitz's decision on the lawsuits being filed against them, and but they still plan to build after the decision.
That's the French-American
That's
School,
right.
and that's the old Ridgeway Country Club
That's
property.
right.
And doesn't that look green? Have you driven by there recently? It looks nice and green
Yeah.
and lush.
Yeah.
It
But
looks as if it's beautifully maintained these
That's
days.
a file shot, though.
Well, no,
from a
I'm talking
certain
about
photo,
real
yeah.
life, a real life drive-by. That, I mean, it looks pretty good. It was looking kind of scruffy,
Not bad.
maybe a year ago.
Yes, well, it's too bad you can't play on it. The Hudson Gateway Association of Realtors issued a statement to the Citizen Reporter saying that the news that appeared in trade papers and actually was picked up by News 12, that their stats for the second quarter were erroneous and overinflated. They got it wrong, and those are the stats that are correct. They were originally correct, and that is not really fake news. And the Women's Club has announced their gala fundraiser this year. It's on September 28th. It's honoring Abbott House.
And John, you know, the entertainment world, the world as a whole, lost a great talent this week. Aretha Franklin passed away.
And
she had been battling pancreatic cancer. It's a disease which is often fatal. And here's a little bit of Aretha Franklin.
Since you've been gone.
And you know, John, there's kind of a White Plains tie-in with Aretha Franklin. If you go back several years, my wife was involved with a couple of people. They put on concerts at the old RKO Theater on Main Street in White Plains. They had booked Aretha Franklin to come into White Plains to do a concert at the RKO, and shortly before the date that she was supposed to appear to do the concert, they closed the theater. Now, today, of course, that theater is long gone, and in its place we have, actually, there's a little park, and then there's the Ritz-Carlton project right next to it. Right. But Aretha Franklin, a great talent, a talent who will be missed sorely in the industry, and a slight tie-in with White Plains.
Right. John Bailey, Jim Benerofe, Peter Katz. Good night for White Plains Week.
This has been White Plains Week, news and commentary about White Plains, Westchester, and the world. The views and opinions expressed on this program were solely those of the participants. White Plains Week, produced by White Plains Citizen Net Reporter, and presented on Optimum Cable Channel 76 and Verizon Fios Channel 45. You may view White Plains Week anytime on the internet at whiteplainsweek.com, youtube.com, and wpcommunitymedia.org. For White Plains Week, this is Peter Katz speaking.